tāwi a mātai i te reiwa. I ngā karetani ai mātai ki tino i atu ki a koe. Ko nei hoki koe ki te hui ki runga tokotorura nei i rua e tō iwa. Ka tuku a mai e koe, ngā mea i rino i e tātou. Nā reira, ka whakamoe me ti mātou ki a koe te he wā. Kia manaaki tia mai e koe te iwi katoa o mātou taumātua. Me ngā mea e o mātou kei te māwiwi. Kei te uhora nei roki te pauri. Ara ki nā mātou tai tamariki. Kia pai ai tā rātou ki. Kaumana e nei e koe, ngā hia. Me ngā mea inoi ai mātou. I runga i te ingoa tātama o iu Kraiti. Amen. Hei mua koe a mātou rei koa, hei tūturu i a mātou mai katoa. Ko koe a nohoki ai kakahai a mātou. He mea tīmata, he mea mai, he mea kauti o kai a koe. Kia whiwhi ai mātou te ora tonu, ki te mea e ako paitia nei e koe. Koe iu Kraiti hoki tō mātou ariki. Amen. E tō mātou motu i te rai. Kia tātou ingoa, kia tātou mai tau rangatū tawana, kia mine tia tāu mai pai ai ki runga i te whenua, kia iti anō ki tō te rangi, o mai kia mātou are nei, tau mā mātou mo tēnei rā, tura o mātou rara, me mātou hoki e nei o ki runga e
mai nei ka tātou i tēnei rā. Nō reira, kia ora koutou, tamariki pā.
Kia ora. Kia ora koutou te whānau Ngāti Porou. This morning our class would like to present their play that they put on at Cultural Festival in Italy a couple of weeks ago. I realise we have already had this on the radio before. It beats me why we are here again, but never mind.
I te tau Minerawa ko Gilbert Akurata Kunin Kurarawa Kunin Akutikuna Ko Yente Tani Katano Kano Yana Te Waho Ngati Puro Ko Yen Summons via Hari Ko Rise Kurani Rawa Ko Matua Ko Emily Rawa Ko Bye.
Kia ora, Polly.
Ora mai koutou. Ko ngā mea hoki o koutou kāri te tino mōhio mai ki au, ko ko ngā tua, ko wiri tūhoro McElroy e karangatiana, ko Bill Mac, ko te rātoro rānei. Ko taku kōkā no pape, no Ngāti Roa o Maramitu. Ka tatau ki te kaumāwari tau, ka tīmata taku kura māhita. Tīmata atau ki te tūngai kia nei he junior assistant i roto o te kura o rau kōkore. I te tau tahi mano iwarau e Pātikau. Te tīmatanga tēnei o te pakanga tuarua. Ko te nuinga o ngā tamariki o tēnei kura i hara mai i roto i ngā kāinga o ngā tangata mahi pāmu. Ai ka tau mai ki roto i ene tamariki i te mea kei te nui te mahi o rātau kāinga. Ka riro tonu rātau, mā rātau anō e whakatikatira. Ka pērā anō hoki a rātau mahi i te kura. Ka re roa ko tau rātau ki raro ana kua mahi a rātau mai. Mai i rau kōkore ka haro mai au ki rangi tukia. Mo tētahi wā poto ka hunuku atu au ki Waipiro. Ka noho i te kāinga o te hoki rāua ko Mereana Fox. Mai reira ka haere i te kura ia rā. I tērā wā, ko ngā puka kōrero a te tamariki, ko ngā puka e kia nei Progressive Readers. Ka noho au i Waipiroa, kāro taku pāpā, me haere ia ki te hei hoia, ka tahi ka haere ki te Wairoa, ka hoki au ki te kāinga ki te taha o taku kōkā, hei āwhina i aia. He roa tonu au i Whareponga, mai reira ka haere ki te kāreti o ngā māhita i Pōneke, no i tahi tau e rua, ka hoki mai i te wā o te pakanga, i te whakatū i ngā tūnga, ko wātea i te mea kua haere ngā mea tāne ki te pakanga. Ka hoki mai, mo tētahi wā koto, ka hoki anō ki te kāreti o ngā kura mahita, i utanga o te rāmahi. Ka hoki mai au ki te araroa nei, ana ka moe tāne, ana kua here a hoki ki te araroa. Mai tērā wā, te araroa kura mahitai, i raro i a Mr. Cormac, George Cormac, i a Mr. Rimmer. Ko te kura o ngā tamariki nonohi tērā wā, i tokata. Koera te mahi, he haere atu ko ngā mea to nonohi ki te karahe ki ani Standard 2, ka pahi atu mai te araroa nei i tokata, ka huri ngā tau, ka mauria mai tau wharekura mai tokota, ka tū hirosoi i te rohe o Orerekohu. Mai reira ka haere au ki whakaangiangi kura mahitai, te kaumātoru ngā tau ki reira. Ka hara mai nei ki Rerekohu kura mahitai, ko tōku tūngai naine e kai āwhina i te kura mahita o ngā tamariki e ako nei ki te reo Māori. I roto i ngā tau e kura mahi tānau e whāpea ngā tīnitanga o te āhua kōrero kapuka i roto i ngā wharekura. He pērā no hoki te mahi whika. E toru e whāpea ngā tīnitanga ka whakaro te minitata. Ai, anei te huarahi pai ake i tēnā, me huri tātou. Ki au nei, kua tua māro tonu te haere o tēnei tikanga. Kaore ka tīni ni ano. Pēhea tiara, kua tīni ano, ana kua no i te mahi, i tētahi rāi nāna. Koe anō, ko te hau i tēnei wā, koe nei te mariki, e ako nei roti te reo Māori, ka hāngai tā rātau na haere. Engari ki roto i tōku hinengaro, koe nei te mariki, kaore i te tū meke ki te kōrero mai ki a Kia ora koutou e ko mai nā.
Thank you very much, Yara, for your items. And Happy Merry Christmas and Happy New Year too. The weather's absolutely marvellous over here, so that's a good reason to come out. And we've got to see on our now we've got the Henerupe Kohanga Reo Tamariki. If we don't do the Tamariki, we'll have to win with the Kayako first. What is our
Kei runga a Henerupe ko. ki tō tātou reo rangatira. Reo kia koutou e haere nei ki te torotoro haere i ngā whānau. Mahana ana. Kia koutou katoa, mere kiri mete me ngā mihi mo te tauhau. Kei ngā mokupuna hina rupe kohanga reo te wāi naene. Aha whaurua rātou, engari ka oho ake ana mātou ka mau tō mātou ui.
Andy, you gotta go and get the little teepees on.
Come down, it's not for you fellas, it's for these little $400.
Mahi Brown.
Parents and children, by the looks of it. Heaps of vehicles. They're all pulling up and also the 3 platforms on over the instrument.
Pari hapa.
Kari
Roy Matakati pa.
Santa, very big kiss there. Kia ora, hoi matakati pa.
Ariana Henare. Annabelle her trauma.
Come and stay with me over here.
Ramina Walker. Kuratu Henare. Donnie.
I think we've got to come through Hanapōpō here, Jerry.
Vincent Beaver. Sean.
Anthony Kane. He's doing Dave Caracca.
Tên nó nữa.
Dave. Hiệu quả. Harley. Chantel Kuradani. Maleni. Paula.
Ai phò đó.
Shirley Maleni. You can see Vincent's gender. Oh, I've lost it again. He kicks it off. Elaine Willett. Emily. Oh, Hayley Newman. Lewis Herbell. Lewis Herbell. Lewis Herbell. Lewis Herbell. Lydia Gerard.
Excuse me.
Lydia Gerard. Lydia Gerard. Lewis Herbell.
Ăn coco. Thiện thiện.
Mona Surgeon. Mona. Mona Surgeon.
Mona Renton.
Courtney. Where's Courtney?
I can see the postman.
Courtney. Tupac Idiora.
Đi anh mày. Anh mày lên đó, đi đâu hỏi.
and the cocoa. Down there.
With officers around in force, texting motorists for drink driving in this. A series of outside broadcasts from several areas of the East Coast, allowing as many people as possible to take part in a one-day broadcast in their own area. This year, Wharekaika started the ball rolling, and although the live broadcast was new to them, they were able to accommodate a program of spontaneous entertainment for 5 hours with help from Pōtaka. Come and join in the fun. Brandon Intermediate School from Porirua will be holding a concert at Awatere Hall on Thursday night at 8 o'clock. They are guests of Whakaaniangi School and will be leaving Awatere Marae on Friday morning at 6 o'clock. Everyone is welcome to the concert. 4 rugby teams from Ruatori.
Kia ora, tātane. Kia ora, nā kai whakapā, te reo inirangi o Ngāti Porou. Kia ora koto. Kia ora ora Ngāti Porou whānau. Anō. E tīmata anō. Kia ora, nā pai kaipa pāho o te reo irangi o Ngāti Porou. Tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora hoki Ngāti Porou whānui, mai te tei moka ki te tei moka. Te owati, whakaaro, kei te paitaka. From over the Hospital Hill, southbound from Te Araroa, and end at the junction of these 2 rivers, namely Tauranga Kautuku River, which flows from the top end of the Whakaaniangi Valley, and secondly, the Kopopono River that flows from the top end of the Kopopono Valley, joining together about 3 miles upstream from the present Awatere Bridge These two rivers flows together are now called the Awatere River, which flows out to sea just due east of Te Araroa. In the 9th or Bristol. Not until his third marriage to Julia, then he produced a family of boys and girls. Next was Tauranga. Then Matariki had a marae and a meeting house. And we taught too, and the Wharemuka, his wife, as well as up on the terrace, a homestead belonging to Tom Gerard and Piafi, with which their family grew up. Further on the terrace, a homestead belonging to Rupuha and Heni Cornia, and the place name that time was Mataniho. Cordia family was brought up. Towards the river bank and across the road was a homestead belonging to Wahapeka. Next to him was Feto and Betty Campbell, had a family. Later, Huai Parapara and Tira stayed there. Across the river, there were many properties owned by various Maori owners. Joe Brown's property, war, his son Harold Puha managed the farm with his wife Molly, built a new homestead and raised a family. The next property belonged to the Gerard family, which called Hati Station. Wiki and Pera Aramaku lived on their land and brought up raised their own family, also some farmers. Then at the Perato, the next property owner with his wife Emerick, they had a family. Their livelihood was dairy and sent cream to the Ngatipuro Dairy Factory co-op. Next, Eru Peruto had property. The Marangai Rowing Corporation, sheep and cattle station, was then managed by Ru Bristow with his wife Tureti. Raised their family there. In later years, a new manager's house was built nearer the main road. Dabua was manager. When Ru Bristow retired after the Second World War, Guy Goldsmith was then manager. Dabua returned to Toilet Bay. Marangai Road Station later, in 1966, amalgamated into a new block called the Awatere Station. Guy Goldsmith with his lived there as well, with no issues. Kepa and Tarada Priestley had also lived in the area, bringing up a family of boys. Further back, Tom, later down to Bob Manuel, then Stafiro Aspinall, and finally by Phil Aspinall and Doris, which they are in Tokomaru today. Kaiwaru Station, farmed by the Wano brothers, mainly by Ture Wano. The Hudiwai block, farmed by Tobi Hudiwai, later by son Boy Hudiwai, now amalgamated with Hatakeke Station. Across the road, we and council owned 10 acres of land. On this land, they had built a roadman's walkway where their grader driver or operator stayed. His name was Narokene, first grader driver of this area, with his wife Ode. They both brought up a small family. Later years, after their departure, the county sold the property to Dick Hardawar. Across the road lies Moganui Station, with homestead and farm. Also dairy farming. The old people that lived there were Kohai and Petikaraka, where they brought up well-built family boys and girls. In later years, they both retired to Tikitiki, and their son Nehe, with wife Oho, brought up a family and carried on farming. Approximately the same time, Hiro Karaka, the other son, married Teora Haig and had a family where he built a home with wife Ipaka and reared the Wano family. Later years, as he and his wife retired and spent their remaining years at Tikitiki, and his other son, Ben Wano, married with a family, ran the property since. Across the dip, Joe Wano married with one child, but they both deceased. Survived by their daughter Gurley, then married Jack Puketapu. The next big property, Parifero, in the early days, Mohimatai family also stayed. Sometime later, a special person emerged from Ngapuhi or Motatau from north. He stayed at the bungalow he met his future wife, Kuratu Mahue. After their marriage, they happily lived at Parifero and raised a family. They started dairy farming, but in the 1950s, they changed the farm into a sheep and cattle farm since. Up the main road towards Tikitiki, there were two other families lived. On the left side of the road were the Tibble family. Different members of the family had stayed, worked, families of their own. Further along, Kiwi sheep station, farmed by Wachina Waititi with wife Kutita and son Mick. plus some whāngai they brought up. When Watene died, Mick married Inara Fox of Ruatoria, had a little family. They stayed together until such time as circumstances arose. The old lady Husita stayed on until the station was amalgamated with Mogonui under the Department of Maori Affairs Part 24 Act, and appropriately named Kiwinui Station since. Today, Manager's House gardens. Each and every family planted crops of their own, maize of all types, potatoes of different strains, kumara, kamokamo, pumpkins, and watermelons, etc. Then there were no tractors. All work was done by horse and plough. Raka cut a fire for making roads. The land was virgin, no need for fertilizers. Another aspect of this in 1930, the present bridge was marvelously built by a bridge builder, building contractor by the name of Charlie McCracken of Clear Springs. During the 1930s and 1950s, dairy farming was the main source of income for many families. After World War II, some of our soldiers seen returning home, and they all want to settle after a hectic war experience, as that did alter their lives. Most of our very old people then had died. Each one had a thought of building a marae, a dining hall, on a commemoration, as a commemoration for the soldiers that died overseas. They left this idea for the next generation to do. New houses. 1947, the first rehabilitation house built by the Department of Maori Affairs Housing Section were for Barney Walker, a returned serviceman, and his wife Lena, built on the ex-Champi property. It was bought by Dick Harawa. 1948, the second rehab house built on the same property were for Robert Harawa, returned serviceman, his wife and Annie. Further houses were built for returned soldiers. Fans. Turechi Bristow, a widow, then had a new house. Was also built for her family. Tahiwano, also a widow, her house was built along the main road. Her daughter Betty, with husband Korongata, also built their home along the main road. Later years, they left for Te Atatu in Auckland and sold the property to Wiggy and Mahinaro Goldsmith. When Wiggy Goldsmith died, the property was sold to Roy Littleworth, since the owner is the now New Zealand Forest Service. Yawatere Marae. Yawatere Memorial Hall was built during 1956 to 57. The builders were Ricky Goldsmith, George Henry, Dick Haddower, Charlie Goldsmith, Sam Goldsmith, the welfare officer, Andy, as for subsidies was concerned, and numerous other helpers. Cookhouse McWangle built in previous years was shifted to suit the whole site. Pahutu Station Incorporation. In 1964, Pahutu Station headquarters was shifted from the Krakatufero Valley to the present site just across the Awatere Bridge. Long-standing manager Rota Rangahunga retired after many long years of service, after Badge Henare was then manager. The Awatere Station. During the 1960s, the Awatere Station was formed by the Department of Maori Affairs under Part 24 Act. To amalgamate all lands from Joe Brown's, Opapa, Hati, Aramakritus, Arangai Road Station, Eru Bristos, Hawitis, and others. New buildings were built. And now it is a trust farm. The Harakeke Station was formed by the Department of Maori Affairs, amalgamating with it the Manuel Estate and the Huruwai Block. Houses were built for the manager and one shepherd house. Since Arthur, other managers work today, an owner is manager, Roy Mahui. Today it is now a trust farm. Other new houses built, Parifero Station built a new homestead, plus some tenure and eras. This farm today is now a family incorporation. Kraka built a new house for his parents to replace the old Mokonui house. Peter and Nan Owens, Nan is a knee Kraka, with help of others, built a new home to replace their old father's old house, and now a family house. Going back to early 20s, their recreation or sports, a rugby team was formed then. It was called Matariki in the early 30s. The team was renamed the Wanderers until to the present has now called combined with the City Rugby Club is now called KK Combined Sports Club. These days, people were supplemented with native forest fruit and berries, such as tapara, tiure, tawa berries, and many others. Spring water to drink were clean and crystal and cold. And they left to the new generation, to take on the reins with new innovations. what they have done. Nā reira, kamutu nā kōrero. Kia ora tātou katoa.
We're going to have a brief story time with 3 students from Waiorere Primary School. And the first...
I could remember the huge vegetable garden consisting of korora, potatoes, kamo, pumpkins, maize, last week on those days, water and rock melon. When the water and rock melon were ripe, my father would load his buggy and take his load for his friends in Tauranga. People from Rangitukia would ride over the hills with their pack horses to take watermelon back home. We had no decent road to Tauranga for a very long time. We had to wait for the tide to go out and ride our horses over the rocks, the beach, and cross through Tauranga rivers. Our farm supplied our meat and vegetables were grown in our gardens. We always had vegetables all through the year. My mother was a keen diver, and when the tide was very low, she would often go diving and return home with huge crayfish, pole and kina. My father did not dive, but he always accompanied my mother. Now and again, my father would take us eating to a very special lake called Manawa Oihio. We loved eating and would often come home with a tub full of meat. Life at East Cape was very quiet. We only went to shower once a year, and that was to visit the beach. Our neighbor took the school children on the buggy on the morning tide and returned on the afternoon tide. The school held a picnic once a year, an occasion which we loved. Races were held in the morning and each child was awarded a handsome present. A delicious honey would be ready to eat at lunchtime. Our school picnics were always held in our front paddock. Once a year, the government steamship, the Matai, would come to East Cape to bring stores, coal, and kerosene for the lighthouse. The whole school was allowed to go to the landing, and if the sea was calm, the senior people were allowed on board. The sailors rowed us out on the first lifeboat and returned us on the last. We always look forward to the shearing season. Our father and 2 brothers mustered the sheep and drove them to our neighbor's bushing. We all had to drive the sheep over the rocks while the tide was out. We had a special goose which led our sheep as far as the landing, and when her journey was completed, a total of 3 miles, she would fly back to East Cape, there to await the next mob of sheep. This goose led these sheep for many years until one year she did not turn up. It was a sad day for us. We mourned her lost for death. My family lived in a big farm home which had 5 bedrooms, a sitting room with a bay window with moldy carvings and tickle panels, a dining room, a kitchen, a supper room, a pantry, a bathroom and a library. A fairly large veranda enclosed half of our home. As far as I can remember, we always had hot and cold water and electric lights run by batteries. We had 2 lawn trestles and a tennis court in front. We had our own pigs, cows, geese, turkeys, ducks and fowls. We milked our own cows every day, and in the mornings we separated the milk and churned the cream for butter. My brother had a windmill on a hill behind our home, and it was used to charge our batteries for our electric lights. In my early childhood, Dr. Wirapa attended to all our medical needs. I can remember having a swollen knee. Dr. Eva launched it on our kitchen table. I was given it there while he danced my knee and woke up to find a rather large hole. My mother kept a strict eye on my knee and healed it by applying dock leaves on the operation. My father was a clergyman and his ear contained his pay, jaws, four-wheeler and his hip. He was paid a salary of £5 per year. He resigned from the ministry as he could not keep his family on a low wage. He rode on horseback every week to conduct his services. He finally took up sheep and cattle farming with the help of my brothers. I can well remember struggling and calling into our home for food and for a place to sleep. I was always afraid of them because they were so untidy and dirty.
Well done. Our next story is by Jamie Newman, Mokupuna of Kara Rangihuna and Apiata Apanui. And
once in Hawaii, there lived a wise old ariki called Ueluku. He had two sons, Paikea and Uatapu. The village where they lived was very windy. It was just right for flying kites. One day Ua said to his brother, let's have a competition and see who can fly the kite the highest. Ka pai tēnā, Paikea replied. That's a good idea. Uatapu and Paikea flew and flew their kites. Sometimes they would climb way up and sometimes they would sweep down over the waves. All of a sudden, the wind changed and blew Ua's kite onto the fighting moe of his father Uenuku. Oh wait, calm up to you, said Ua. Never mind, said Paikea. It's not broken, climb up and get it. So he climbed on the roof. He dropped the kite and was coming down and his father gave him a growling. He said that if it had been Paikea, he would not mind. Ua realized that Paikea was Uenuku's favourite and he did not love him. This made him angry. He wanted to pay his father back for what he had said. So the next day he arranged a fishing trip for all the eldest brothers of the tribe. When they were right out to sea and the land was out of sight, Ua pulled a plug and knocked him out with a magic pot. Paikea called his ancestors and they seized a whale. The whale took him to a new land. Salua Langu. Paikea didn't know where he was. He badly wanted to get back to Waiki. He settled in Whakatane and married Mangaitini and had two daughters, Muri Whakaputa and Muriwai. He left his family in Whakatane and carried on down the coast. When he got to Kotoku near Whangotana, he saw a village and he didn't know if it had friendly people or not. So he climbed up a tree that hung over a pool of water. Uturangi came to bathe him, but she saw his reflection in the pool and thought it was a taniwha. So she ran home and told her father what she had seen. Her father said, go back and have another look. So she did, and it was Paikea. Paikea stayed at Kotoku and married Uturangi. Although he enjoyed life at Kotoku, he was restless and wanted to move on. So his father-in-law and his wife travelled over gullies, through streams and rivers, through the forest and made a camp at Rokotani. He was as restless as ever, so he and Uturangi carried on. As they travelled, Paikea named landmarks like hills, rocks, rivers and lakes after the places he remembered. Eventually, they arrived at a beautiful bay that reminded him of home. Whangarama Tawhiti. Paikea built himself a pā named Pāhutu o Rangi and built a house named Vitirea, which had been his father's house in Hawaii.
Well done, Jamie. And what's your mum's name? Waito Mama.
Yes.
And Josephine Hale. And being from Horoera, her story is about her tipuna, Bunara.
Inara and Ravi Kiri were cousins. Inara lived beside the sea. Inara was very lucky because he could get a good supply of shellfish, fish, honey, and so on. And store food to winter supplies. When Hinata went to visit Rahi or Kiru on one occasion, Hinata commented about the preserved foods, and then he became boastful about the seafood of Tukarari. Hinata invited Rahi or Kiru to visit him one day and enjoy the seafood. Hinata suggested to Rahi or Kiwi to come in June or July because that's when the kiwi is fat and the paringa is ready for cooking and other seafood available. Rahi or Kiwi accepted the invitation. Rahi or Kiwi and his party travelled along to Tukarari and kept thinking about Hinata's boasting. He prayed that the sea would become rough so Hinata's men could not get any seafood. Rahi or Kiwi and his party arrived at Hinata's park and he saw the angry waves pounding the shore. Perhaps Tongariro had agreed with Rahi or Kiwi's wish to silence the boastful Hinata. It worked. Hinata tried to settle Rahi or Kiwi down with these words. Rahi inuhu, kia marino te moana kia taia he kai. Just as the visiting party prepared to return home, the Takariki Rahi or Kiwi replied, Mawai e whānga te kai I tua o Tukarari.
Tukarari me te iwi, wakarongo mai rā. E hara taku haere mai.
Kia ora, Bob, over to you now.
And for me, all this technological gear is a bit, I'm outside my territory. I've been delving into the past, not the present or the future, it's the past I've been delving into. Now, we just heard a little girl telling her story about Hunara, and then a group singing about their Hunara tanga. I found it very interesting because I've been reading up a wee bit about the tipuna, and Hunara is one I've fallen quite in love with Hunara in some ways because he's rather special. I think all his descendants are very proud of their Hunara tanga. He was sort of, as far as I can see, he was a peaceful sort of man. And the stories about Hunara always have a little bit of fun in it. The story about him having to marry the wife that he wanted his son to marry because his son ran away. And there's a story about him and his neighbour who bewitched the sea so there'd be no cholera for him. And several other stories, all of them rather amusing and show that Runara was a jolly sort of person. Not a great warrior, but a great man to have in your background. I'm sure those Koroweda people are really proud of him. Now, I've been about it's getting on to 40 years since I came to Te Araroa, but I was just listening to Bobby Harder giving us a most interesting talk on those years before I came, those years from 1920 to 1940. I found that fascinating because when I came here things were just beginning to change. I remember when I first came I hadn't seen a place with so many horses, and just at that time there was a big boom in wool castles. And I know that Bobby's father had a beautiful car the year of that wool boom, and George Heno had a beautiful car. There were several beautiful cars came as a result of those big increases in wool prices in the early 1950s. I went away for a year or two, and when I came back to Te Araroa, half the horses had gone, and everybody who had 4 wheels had 4 wheels instead of a horse. But I looked around just yesterday, and the paddock near us, we counted 22 horses. Now, I think that the horse population in Te Araroa is suddenly going up with a great bump, because just within view of our house, there's one paddock with 22, another paddock with 9 horses, further along there 11 horses. There must be 100 horses within a couple of miles of where we are now. Now, we're getting off what I was going to talk about. When I gave up teaching a few years ago, or before I gave up, certain people said, oh, you know a bit about our history, you should write down these stories before you get old and too old to remember them. So I said, yes, I'll do that. But when it came to writing down some of these stories, I thought, no, I know nothing. Because when you come to write a thing down, that's when you really find out what you do know. And I realised that I knew very little. So I thought, well, I'd better do a course in Te Araroa history and build it myself. So I started off, started going to the Land Court building in Gisborne, and I said to them behind the counter, can I have Waiapu Minute Book number 1? I started reading Waiapu Minute Book, Land Court Minute Book number 1. I went on and on. I said, how many minute books have you? Because they're each a great big ledger and they have 300 pages of handwritten stuff in them. They said, oh, we've got 140 to deal with Waiapu alone. Well, I have been through most of those books I'm up to number 72, I think. The ones I'm reading now are not quite so interesting as the old ones, because they seem to be just records of land exchanges and that sort of thing, but the older books have the stories. Now, so I thought I'd tell you something today that's really not an old story, but it has to do with an old story. Now, some of you will remember about 5 years ago, 5 years ago, there was a little to-do in Te Araroa because a message came from Auckland that some people were bringing down a stone, and because it had to come to Te Araroa. And we got word at the school that this stone was being brought from Auckland by some of the Punara folk. And we took the children up to the marae because we thought, well, this is an interesting thing. And we waited, and the Auckland from Auckland didn't arrive, and we had to get the children back from buses and things like that. But some of us stayed on, and eventually a little group arrived all the way from Auckland, and they had a box that looked like a coffin cut short. That's about the only way I can describe it. It was all nicely polished, silver handles on the side, and there was a lady with them, came with this group. I recognised Honekar in the group and some other faces. But there was this Pākehā lady in the group. It turned out she was a Mrs. Lucy Bolton. And she was an Australian by birth, but she was a spiritualist. and someone had found this stone. As far as I can gather, the stone was under their house. Some two young fellows, and they'd taken the stone inside to use it as a doorstop. But when they got the stone inside, they found that funny things happened. Things fell off the wall and things like that. And so someone said, "Oh, you better speak to Dulcie Bolton. She knows about things like that." So they got hold of this lady, and she said, "Oh, this stone doesn't belong here. It belongs away in the east, away near where the sun rises." And she did a drawing, and it showed a headland rather like this headland at what we call the bluff here at Maungaroa. And she said there's a meeting house that faces the sun. So they said, "Oh, that's Chauraroa." So they said, "We've got to take the stone there." Now this sounds like a lot of Tommy Rot in a way. Well, it did a bit to me. I felt I was a bit whakamara about having to do anything with this, because I thought, hang, what will people say with the headmaster of the school and all this sort of magic stuff? So I felt a wee bit whakamara, but anyway, I kept an open mind, and when the stone was brought out, it was a slightly strange looking stone, nothing particular about it, but it was taken into the meeting house, and a number of people were there. I didn't stay. I thought, well, perhaps I should go home. My wife stayed. She said, "Well, you better stay there and support her cousin who had these, discovered he had the same powers as this Dulcie Bolton. I called her Lucy a while ago. It was Dulcie. Anyway, Dulcie thought the stone should go round this bluff here, and she went out that way, but it seems that she lost contact with the spirit medium. They brought it back, the stone was brought back, as they said, to the sisters. Well, everybody in Te Awaroa knows that the sisters are the two ladies who helped hold up Hinerupe Meeting House, Tautahi and Tautahai. And Dulcie hadn't got the message as to what to do as to laying the stone in its eventual resting place. But she said, "It's safe for me to go because I can see, John, that you have the same powers as I have, and you'll be told when to move the stone." So, anyway, a few days later we got word at home to say the stone was being taken to Warawera. So we got in the car and we went out and joined a group of perhaps 30 people, and we went round to Matahi, Marae, Warawera, and the stone was carried across there. And you know, the amazing thing about that stone is that it's as heavy as lead. And Warawera, at that time, it was a very broken down marae at Matahi. There was a lot of mud around everywhere. It was a whole bog between the meeting house and the house where Robbie Hemi and Ella lived. Anyway, we went out. We had a little karakia in the meeting house. And it seems as if John lost contact with his this wairua that was speaking to him. And then everybody looked around at everybody else and thought, what next? But then John went and picked up the stone. She had no trouble with it, carried it out, stopped on the marae, turned at a right angle, and then came and laid it down. Then he stood back at any time, just angled it up, and we all looked on, we wondered. Now that stone lay there, it has lain there for 3 or 4 years, and I've been out there a few times and I've gone and looked at that stone and I've wondered too. And I wondered all the more, people said to me, "That's a bloody rubbish," and this sort of thing. And I thought, well, I won't say anything at all, but you can imagine my surprise. Only a few months ago, not more than 5 months ago, I was reading in one of these, it was a Maori committee book from 1905, and the man giving evidence was Harawira Huriwai. Now, Harawira Huriwai is Bully Walker's grandfather, I think, and Johnny Huriwai's grandfather, and there's a monument to Harawira Huriwai on the marae at Warawera. And in it, it's more or less, it was all in Maori, but it more or less goes like this in English. "I will now speak of troubles that arose in the time of Kōpuni." Now, Kōpuni was one of the children of Te Aotearoa, and he was a Horowera ancestor. That's a story I'll have to tell you another time. But anyway, he said that Tamahai, that's the land that Te Kaha folklore was boasted about, Tamahai. Tamahai came over this way and he wanted to have a go at some people in Waiapu, and he had to go at them down there, and he attacked various places, including the power above Waiamakatini, and he moved his way up, and eventually he came to Horowera. Now, the pa at Horowera was called Rangitane, and it's up behind the meeting house. You cross a deep creek, and across there the little hill stands by itself, and there's a deep trench there in a high bank. Now that was the defensive embankment of the pa. There's a little headstone on that pa site now, so there have been a few burials there in more or less recent times. But that was Rangitane Pa, and that was the pa that Tupakairiora lived at, or took his wife Piriko to. That was the pa where Nara lived in different ones. That's the main pa in Horowera. And Tamahai came to that pa to attack it. Now, Kōpuni was at Parikahi at the time. The only ones in the pa were his sons. One was called Tahumwana, I've forgotten the name of the other one for the minute. Only those two sons and their immediate families, they were the only ones in the pa. And the pa was attacked. And they got right through to the innermost defences. Probably that bank, there's a gap in that bank where there'd probably be a gateway in days gone by. If you're ever there, you have a look, you can see it without even having to cross the creek. You can see the big bank and the gap in it where the gates of the pa would be. And they got right there, and the people in the pa wondered what to do. And then he said, Harawira Huriwai said, the stone was thrown. And then he said, ko hengai ngā tūhua te ingoa, hei tuhi mo taua mea. Hengai ngā tūhua is the name to write down for that thing. And then he went on and said, I myself saw that stone, and that didn't click with me. You know, I read that through, and I didn't click for a few days. Then I thought, hang, I've been thinking of this Rangitane pa, and I got it mixed up in my mind. I was thinking of another position near Ulutu. Then it dawned on me, no, I'm stupid. That's Rangitane pa right there, and that's the only time I've ever read of a stone being thrown. And all the battles I've read about, Tupakairiora battles at Maniera or at Tarerako'o and all these places where he had his great battles, but no mention ever of a stone being thrown. And I thought, now, that's the stone that's on the Mahi. Well, this made me have funny little trembly feelings inside, I must say. And so I phoned Dalton Watson, and I found her phone number. She said, thank you for ringing me. She said, so seldom do we have verification of what we see. We don't need so seldom confirmation. Anyway, I knew there were some people around about here who have a sympathetic ear to what I had found out, and others would still say, oh, you know. So one person I rang who I knew would be most interested was Stone Wano here, and Stone said, yes, do you remember, he said, the next day when Dulcie Bolton was here, I took her down by the Puhuta poetry, and this spirit medium came to her then, and she said, there was some sort of battle down here. She said, a battle, and there was shots were fired, revolver was fired down here, and there's a man, she could see a man in an English officer's uniform. So I said to Stone, well, I haven't read anything like that yet. I said, but I've got another pile of photocopied material coming. See, what do? I go to you can't possibly read 300 pages of a land court minute book without your eyes dropping out. So you glance through, and if there's something interesting, you take to the car and say, can you photocopy this for me? I've spent a fortune in photocopying over the last 2 or 3 years. They photocopy very nicely. They really are present in the Land Court building, and they send it up to me, great wads of stuff. Anyway, a couple of days later, I came my latest lot of photocopying. This time it was from the actual Land Court held in 1908, and the evidence was written in English.